Like everyone always asks, how did I learn so much stuff for Neovim? Like I just read the stuff that's inside of Neovim. You don't need anything else. People get mad if you're running the ETLs at the wrong time of the day. You know, they're like, hey, dude, I didn't expect the ETL to be running. That caused my thing to break. Whatever, right? So I was like, oh, well, what if we just like wrote tests into Excel files, right? Where we have inputs of like claims and output of records. I built a simple fuzzy finder for them that would search over all of our different test files so that they could find them and run them easily, so that they would actually use the test runner, as opposed to having a really good piece of tech that is too complicated to use that no one does it. Engineers think, I solved the problem. If no one's using it, you didn't solve the problem!
Tell me this.
Yeah?
I want to talk a little bit with you about both Neovim and some of your work experience.
Mm-hmm.
And probably at some point we're gonna get to like terminal.shop. And we're gonna try to point this. I kind of pieced together your story from various stand-ups and other videos, but need to unravel that a little bit. So I am super interested in learning, when did you first met the Neovim?
Mm-hmm.
And then when did you start to like Neovim?
So the first time I saw Neovim, I was, I think it was the summer after my sophomore year of college. Neovim was, I think, just kind of coming out at the time. At my internship, there was a guy who used Vim, who I liked a lot, and he was a great engineer. And so I was kind of like, whoa, what's this thing? Like the only thing I'd seen so far is Eclipse, basically, like at school. To back up one step further probably is better. Like I started mechanical engineering in school, and then fell in love with programming at the end of my sophomore year. I'd never done any programming like before that. I'd never touched any. I literally never written a line of code, done anything. And I took a class and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I love this. I want to do this for the rest of my life.
How old were you? How old were you then?
Like 20, something like that. Yeah. So then that summer, I working at this internship, guy was using Vim. I thought it was pretty cool. Me and another intern like kind of stumbled across Neovim online. And what was interesting was like Neovim was exploring a much better interface for doing remote plugins at the time. So you could use other languages besides Vim script, right? To like script the editor. And this super blew my mind because like, I can write code to change how I write code. That's so awesome. So I was just very surprised that was a thing. I didn't know that it was a thing or that it was going to be a thing. And so I pretty much fell in love with it like right away and started using it a lot. And so it was pretty much like the first editor that I really started using, like in general, outside of doing like random labs at school.
I feel like whenever everyone starts with either Vim or Emacs or anything, like these low-level editors, they are daunting. They are confusing and kind of arcane. Didn't you have this feeling?
No. It just read the help.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I barely knew how to code, really, but you just read. All the answers are in the help docs. Like, everyone always asks, how did I learn so much stuff for Neovim? Like, I just read the stuff that's inside of Neovim. Like, you don't need anything else to do. I mean, that was part of the joke of doing, like, when I read the entire Neovim manual in, like, one stream, was like, yeah, you can, if you read this, if you actually just, like, cared enough about your career to, like, and you liked this tool, and you wanted to sit down and spend 10 hours on this, you would greatly improve the trajectory of using this tool for you. It's not saying the tool's for everybody. Like, there's lots of valid reasons to not like Neovim or to not want to use it. That's totally fine. But if you want to use it, I don't get why you wouldn't just, like, try and read about it and get better at it. Just like I read the docs for every language I try and do, or, like, every library. Same thing.
You start from it? Like, you do it initially, or?
Yeah, usually, like, if I'm starting a brand new language, I'll read through, like, a significant portion of, like, their sort of standard, like, docs, getting started, follow through their examples. Like, when I first was playing around with OCaml more seriously, I read the entire, like, standard library doc, like, walkthrough that they have on their thing. I mean, you just, like, put it on your phone, read that. you like understand the language a lot better. I did mostly the same thing for Elixir as well. Lua's a lot easier. It's shorter. It only takes like maybe 4 hours to read, so it's like pretty short.
Let me interject here for a moment. What you are referring to as Wookash Podcast is having its own private Discord server where members and guests of the show can chat together. On top of that, members can know in advance who's gonna be on the show and can submit questions beforehand. Go to wookashpodcast.com to learn more. When you say standard library,
Yeah.
you mean like code?
No, sometimes, yeah, but like, or just like they'll have a documentation page for like the important modules, right? And like some guide of how to use them, or like maybe like an overview of what are the important functions there. And like, I read those. So like on OCaml, they have like a user guide, right? Not necessarily like literally every function, but they start like, here's how the language works. Here's how the type system works. Here's how some of the important modules work. Here's how you run it. Here's how you do this. Here's how like, and it's there. It's like in an order that can be read through, generally speaking, like, someone took the time to write it. This is, they're writing it pre-LLM. Someone had to handcraft and like think when they put it onto the page. So, I find it very, very useful. And then like I usually will mix in like trying to build something with it, either like in parallel or like afterwards or something. You can't just only read it, but reading it gives you a lot of insight into like the language, what kind of questions you can ask. You don't even know that a bunch of stuff exists if you've never even seen it, right? So there's a lot of unknowns when you start a language, but you can at least make more like known unknowns. Like, I don't really get how type inference works in OCaml, but like I do know that it happens, right? Like that's a way better start than not knowing that at all, or like, yeah. So I think those are important steps. Yeah.
I wonder whether this applies to languages like C++ or Java.
Well, they still have a user guide usually, like a getting started thing. They have some official documentation, and like if I was like, I'm gonna commit my life to C++, I don't know anyone who programs C++ casually, right? It's usually like that's their only thing. Then yeah, I would try and read like an insane amount of stuff for C++ too. Like I don't like. That just makes sense for me. It doesn't seem like a fun language to me, so I'm not interested in reading anything about it. But that's what I would do, yeah.
You programmed C, right?
Yeah, I've written like a decent amount of C, yeah.
Okay. When you were reading the Neovim tutorial, like help or like reference, did you learn something new then?
Oh, when I was doing it for the long sit through? Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff in there definitely like I was like, there were some tricks that I learned or some like things that I hadn't really thought about combining. A lot of it was like how to combine different features that I wasn't like thinking about doing before. But yeah, it was still new stuff to learn, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you start contributing to Neovim and making this a bit of a switch?
Yeah, so my first contribution was probably, I don't know, maybe like a year or like a year and a half after like I'd started using Neovim. So I'm pretty sure I was a senior in college. I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know how to use Git basically. I was like still really dumb. But I just wanted to make my status line look different, and they didn't have this like thing for Neovim. I was like, I want to put something in the middle. Like they had a split separator, but they didn't have a middle one. I'm like checking the docs. I'm seeing them like that doesn't exist. I think it's the first probably like pull request I ever even did on GitHub. Honestly, like I don't know. I think I didn't know like anything about this at the time, and so I was like, hey, there was an issue for it, and I was like, hey, I'd kind of like to work on this, but I really don't know what I'm doing. And in more words and in a nicer format than that, and like I need a little bit maybe of like guidance of where it could go. They pointed me in the right direction, and yeah, it ended up being like a decent sized PR because there was just a lot of stuff to consider like about it, and it's in kind of like a gnarly part of some old like Vim C code for status line stuff. But I was diligent and polite, and I wrote a lot of tests, and got a lot of help from them, which was very kind. And then eventually messed up my Git history, so they had to do it for me. But then it got merged eventually, and that was my first commit for Neovim. Yeah.
Nice. How much time did it take?
Oh, I don't know. No idea. That was like over 10 years ago, probably, or like 10 years ago. So I don't really remember. I mean, it wasn't like a one night kind of thing. Like it took a while. I mean, you can see if you go look at the PR, or like I could go look it up too, but like it was over multiple different days and stuff like that. Yeah.
Sometimes repositories like open source projects have this like good first issue, and this
Yeah.
kind of seems like a bigger one. Like
Yeah, it was not labeled as good first issue for sure.
okay.
I didn't know that labels existed on GitHub. Like I didn't know anything about it. It's just tenacious, I think. Yeah.
To me, this idea that you are like a year and a half in to using Neovim and understanding the architecture, but also not using Git is
we maybe used it, but I just was like, I didn't know how to like rebase and squash and do a bunch of stuff like that, right? You know, like I just, yeah. Okay. You don't have to understand the whole thing of Neovim. They just point you to a function, and it takes in a string and gives you back a string. Okay, I don't know anything about the event loop at the time. You know, you just write the code. You figure out, oh, well, how do I run tests? Like, it's in the docs. Okay, I'll go read all the docs. Cool, I know how to run tests now. Oh, I need to run just this test. Okay, well, it's in the docs too. I just go read that. And then, cool, I just write a bunch of tests for me. Oh, looks, I leaked memory because I'm stupid and I don't know how to write C at the time. Okay, well, I figure out what that means and then we fix that. So it's just like, yeah, well, I wasn't like a genius programmer at it or anything. I had a lot of comments that were like, this is really bad. My favorite contributor, Zix, a really great Russian software dev, and like he was just very straightforward about everything, very
direct.
Very direct, which was great. I needed that. It was so helpful. Like it was like seriously probably a turning point in my whole career. I didn't recognize it at the time. I mean, I recognized that I was getting valuable feedback and I was polite and thankful for it, but like didn't realize how big of a difference I was gonna like make. But yeah, it was super helpful. And then you just don't get offended and try and fix what they want fixed, and then you can get something merged usually if it's in the right direction.
Yeah, I think people from Eastern Europe get this comment a lot that they're very direct. And
yeah, super helpful. If you're like getting this super direct feedback from someone who's a good programmer, you should be so thankful instead of getting offended. Like I have a lot of my career is owed to probably even just that one pull request that started me on a lot of good directions.
And this was still when you were still in university. Not even like in a company play, not in Epic the medical records.
Yep. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then so this was your first contribution, and then I'm assuming it's not like, okay, now I need to become a core maintainer.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was like a thing.
Okay.
Like I'm like very not in like at the time like internet tech like culture, right? Like I just go on the internet to watch people play Dota 2 and like follow the international or something. Like I don't care about programmers on the internet. So yeah, so I mean like I did a few other small things. I guess for those who are familiar, I wrote the beginning stuff for and like the first merge and a few iterations of Checkhealth. So like when you can run Checkhealth inside of Neovim, it'll like have a way for plugins and like Neovim core to register things that can check your system to make sure it's set up correctly. So then I was working on that. And then afterwards I started working on LSP. I actually wrote like a Vim script LSP. Like I wrote a client in Vim script for LSP. At first, Lua was not like far enough along in Neovim to support that. Then I went to Epic and like I was working on some Neovim stuff for myself, but I wasn't using Neovim as much like day to day because we had like a custom IDE and all this other stuff. So I didn't do a whole lot of stuff for Neovim for a while there. And then I got back into it after I was done at Epic.
So I want to linger on your work on Neovim. Yeah. And then we're going to go back to Epic and discuss how the hell medical records company has this incredible tech and they're like killing it. So
yeah, they are. Yeah.
In Neovim, you at some point start to double with LSP work, right?
Yep.
And you said now that Lua was not there. So how did
Yep.
the situation look like, and when did the actual LSP support start to happen?
Yeah, so I mean, initially there was like some I mean, LSP was not like a clear winner, like it was going to be like super widely supported by a bunch of languages at the time. I mean, Microsoft was behind it and stuff, and so there was at least like some push. But I mean, Microsoft's abandoned plenty of projects too. It wasn't like, oh wow, Microsoft's there, so now we know we're going to be able to use it. So it was like, okay, well, we can try building basically like a plugin for it. And if the plugin works good, then we could think about putting it into Neovim core. So I wrote one in Vim script. Also at the time, like it was Neovim and Vim were a little bit like closer just in terms of like API and a bunch of other things, right? So it could run in Vim and Neovim. It was not like good, you know what I mean? Like, but it worked and it had a lot of the basic support of doing that, and I got far enough that it could run. But then it would never, that one never got merged into Neovim or not. There were a few other people who eventually kind of took up the cause of like transforming that into something that could be more like Neovim centric, and then Lua got a lot farther, and then so there was kind of like a rewrite into Lua to get the Vim LSP module, and then we'll talk about Epic, but like I came back after Epic and then I helped finish some of that and like push a lot of things, and also ended up rewriting a few like important modules, or like, you know, extending them out to be more Neovim like, I guess, right? So yeah, so that's kind of like the general process. But like Lua didn't have like auto commands yet, or it didn't have like, you know, key maps built. There was a bunch of things where we couldn't store like a Lua ref, right? Like a direct reference to a Lua thing in the C code for Vim. Like we had to go write, change the structs, change how they're handled, change the kinds, add this thing so that it could be properly like deeply integrated. Like one of the things was for example, like a bunch of Vim script functions couldn't take Lua functions as callbacks. Like obviously, like that wasn't, Vim wasn't written so that you could just arbitrarily pass in a Vim function or a Lua function. That wasn't a thing. So we had to write code like that to make those things happen, so that those could actually work and not crash.
So the complexity of LSP was more on the piping around it, or was it something like inside LSP?
For Neovim, I would say that's one complexity. The other complexity was like, okay, how do we make this feel like a Neovim thing, not just like a random bolted on like aspect, right? And I mean, there's been tons of iteration by tons of people like since then to make it feel more and more Neovim like. But that's just stuff like, hey, some people want go to definition to open up in this window, and some of them want it to open up in a new tab. Okay, well, we could make the combinatorial explosion of all the options, or we can think about how we can set it up in a way such that like Neovim users can configure that and run that in a way that works well for them, right? And like, oh, they want to intercept this handler, or oh, they want to ignore these, or oh, they want to turn this thing off. Like, that is a very different like experience than how maybe like, you know, VS Code is trying to like let people use LSP, right? You know what I'm saying? Like they're not really like, oh, you get to choose what it looks like when you peek to the definition. No, we have a keyboard shortcut you can press that does this thing. It does the same for everybody, and there's no differences. Okay, not necessarily wrong, but that's not really like the Neovim way, right? So there's a lot of work and iteration, and like still is, of how do we make this feel very ergonomic for Neovim users, right? In a way that's like exciting, but also not overly complex. And some of that just takes a long time to explore.
Were there some technical issues in implementing LSP support?
Yeah, I mean, there was some stuff like just a simple example is like, hey, we got to pull in a different JSON library because when, you know, TS server sends 100,000 completions or something for like whenever you type the letter C, we like literally are hanging on parsing, you know, like, okay, so we have to bring in Lua C JSON and it's got SIMD support and blah, 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 you know, and you're like, so there was some stuff like that. And then, like I said, you know, initially there was just a lot of things where like, oh, you would run into something and be like, oh, our Lua support doesn't have that now. It doesn't have that yet, right? So we sometimes would just do like a kind of gross like hack. It's not super bad, but just like, oh, okay, we have to store all of the global references of these key maps into this thing, and then we have a Vim script function that calls that thing that then calls the Lua thing, blah, you know, and you're like, okay, well, we can change that once we have proper key map support for Lua, right? It's like, okay, well, so it was just like pushed a lot of edges for Neovim's Lua integration when making LSP.
Can we do a bit of a tangent? Because now,
Yeah, of course.
you mentioned like you're doing a dirty hack and you want to come back to it.
Yep.
But then in terms of the release process, like you're pushing this, and I'm assuming to master, so it kind of needs to work for everybody who is using like the most up-to-date version. So it's still like every time you push something, you cannot just leave it broken, right? It needs to be working, right?
Yeah, I mean, the hacks would work. It just, like, feels really bad. It feels bad to store, like, all of your key maps in, like, a global table that you're, like, referencing from random Vim script code. Like, it works. It maybe you'll have a memory leak or something, like, but it's not, okay, but, you know, all the people using Electron are, you can leak memory for a while before you run into, like, what Electron people are having, right? So... so it was not like it was broken or didn't work, you know, it was just like, oh, we need to find out a way to make this like better.
Okay. So this was LSP. You also are very famous for your telescope plugin. And I want to know the story about how it came to be.
Yeah, that's after Epic, so I don't know if you want to do Epic first or you want to, you know.
Let's do. By the way, at the point of doing the LSP stuff, are you now officially core maintainer and you have like a secret core maintainer group chat?
Nope, not at the beginning. That happened after Epic as well.
Okay. Yep. So now it's just contributing to Neovim. Okay.
Yeah, just whenever. Right.
Okay. So then you're joining Epic.
Yep.
And then you're sadly parting ways with Neovim for some time.
Yeah.
You get a custom code editor in a medical company. In a company, I am working in a medical company for the past 2 months. So I got to experience all the documentation, design specification, testing, reports, everything.
Nice.
And now, how the hell you have such engineering principles and people skilled enough to have both their text editors and programming language and all this wacky stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so Epic, for a little bit of context for those who don't know, they do medical health records, right? They're like insanely large, and you know, they when I was there, I haven't checked on them in a while, but it was like 10,000 employees. I think total is between 1,500 and 2,500 software developers full time. A ton of QA people as well that are like, they're doing software adjacent stuff at the very least. So, I mean, but they're old. They started in like the 70s or something. So a bunch of their stuff, I mean, they had to invent out of necessity, right? So it's like, oh, well, okay, we need a way to like, have environments and stuff, or like, to have a testing environment and to have like bug tracking and source control and like all this other stuff. They didn't invent their own source, but like built stuff on top of those tools to actually do PR review. Like GitHub wasn't around. They were not using GitHub code reviews. Also, GitHub code reviews sucks. It's terrible. There's no way to like track comments. Comments don't load. Diffs don't load. It's bad. It's a terrible experience. So, So I mean, they've been building a bunch of those things for a very long time. And one thing that I always liked, Judy, the founder, she was still there. I think she's still there right now too. Very much thought of the company as like a very long-term business. I mean, that was one of her things of like keeping it private and like all this other stuff, right? Was like, hey, we don't need to make decisions for this quarter. We're going to make it for 10 years. So that was one of the things that I really respected a lot about her and Epic was, so it's like, okay, well, we got to build tooling that makes it really good for us to work and like collaborate and to deploy to like the 50 different environments we have at any given time locally, and like to send things back that can get special upgrades to like random hospitals. And so there was just like, they had to build a lot of those because they didn't exist at the time. And then like once you have them, a lot of times it's more specific to your workflow anyways. Like GitHub, plus some of them just suck. Like I think GitHub code review sucks. It's just bad. It's slow. It doesn't work. doesn't load the whole div. It's not going to give you comments. It doesn't have links where you can specifically resolve like this thing into here and like mark these down and associate it back with like, oh, I'm going to put this with this project deliverable. Like, because they had a whole system that was integrated, right? Design, like QA, dev, code review. It was all like in this one flow. And sure, okay, some of it was old and ugly and blah, blah, blah. But like, it was like better than a bunch of places that I've seen who think they have an awesome one. Like, yeah. So I mean, a lot of it I would say was kind of out of necessity that they had to build these. Yeah.
Okay. You want to highlight a couple of features of either the version control system or the text editor itself that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think probably like the coolest like thing about it was since they were all really tightly connected, you could inside of like the IDE, you could just like a drop down menu, you could select from all of the different like environments that you have, and you're going to go into that environment. You can run queries against that environment like automatically. You can leave comments. Those comments from the IDE show up in your like code review tool. You can make sure they all get checked off before they're there. You get particular sign off from particular people. If it needs to go back, it goes back. It goes through each of these it gets deployed to new environments as it processes through the steps. Each of the steps has different QA people that are testing it and has different, data inside of them to test out different workflows. Like my team worked on a lot of like pretty big data, so we would get to deploy into like I didn't have to do anything. I just pressed the button. It would just automatically deploy into systems with realistic data that was big that you could actually check instead of like, oh, well, it runs fast enough. That doesn't work if your customer has 5 million people in their database. Like that's not even, or like, oh, you have a customer who's the whole state of California. The entire state of California is like, so in this database in some way or another. Okay, well, we kind of got to like do a little bit of performance regression testing here, guys. We can't just push this to prod and then like let whatever happen. So the integration was where it was really cool, and this like management of a bunch of different environments and setups and managing all these different people. Because it's just very different from shipping other kinds of software because people can die. So you're like, oh wait, we really don't want to mess it up. Like it's better to go slow. That this was not always followed, but it's like in principle, it's like it's better to go slow and get it right than it is to go fast and kill somebody, because that's like a legit worry that you have in those scenarios. Yeah.
I'm assuming there's like a standard somewhere that you don't control that is like US based, and then you derive from the standard some documents and these procedures, and then you embedded the whole process into the tooling.
Yeah, that's true for like a lot of different things. And then sometimes, I mean, like Epic does all of the stuff. So like everything that can happen basically at a hospital or like at a doctor's office can go through Epic. So it's like, oh, okay. Ordering patient medications.
Okay.
They have an application just for patients to order medication, right? Or like, oh, they do all the mobile apps for the hospital because they need to, it's like, so I mean, it's insane how much stuff they're doing and like how widespread it is. And like another cool thing for Epic was they never did acquisitions. Never acquired any other company to do anything. They built everything every time all by themselves, like, which was cool. I mean, they have interfaces to other things. So like, if they don't have an ambulance, I don't know, maybe they do now, but like they don't have an ambulance tracking system. They have ways that they build APIs that other companies can interface with them, but they're not going to acquire the ambulance tracking company and try and bolt them on to this system. That was a no acquisitions allowed.
There was recently a Better Software conference, and there was a guy who's pretty much building things from scratch, Eskil Steenberg, and he said, I don't suffer from not invented here syndrome because I invented here everything that I do. So I feel like this applies to Epic.
That's funny.
Like, they don't suffer from this syndrome at all.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Do they have competitors?
Yeah, I mean, there are there's like Cerner and some other ones. And like, I mean, I think Epic now does a lot more international stuff. Like I said, I don't know. It's been at least, I'm trying to think, 6 or 7 years at least, maybe longer than that. That's since I've been at Epic. So I don't know where they're at these days. But like, yeah, I mean, they have competitors, but they, at the time especially, they were definitely the biggest for like large hospitals and stuff in the US and starting to expand outside. Yeah.
Okay. And they have a special programming language, like a key value thing called mumps. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, Epic didn't make mumps. Like someone else made it, and Epic happened to use it when they started. So it's like, it's a very interesting language because it's in some ways kind of like a NoSQL sort of key value store thing, and they have like all this tooling built on top, and I mean obviously just like an insane amount of libraries. I can tell you about one in a sec, but yeah, it's interesting because basically like the way that you do it is it has this key value store, but like you can also you store data as keys in some ways, right? Because you could have like you can think of it as like an array of values where it's like, this is for a patient record, and then we have like an ID, and then we have like name. So, you'd have like 3 keys, right? And then you could have that be like equals their name, right? So that's like storing something at the destination, but you can also store stuff like as the keys, right? The keys themselves can kind of be data. So it's a little bit like mind bending when you first start. It's like very different. But it's very powerful for like medical record stuff because medical record is very sparse. So it's like if you and I both were in Epic, our charts are going to look super different. They're going to look super, super different. We have different questions asked, different things here. Some stuff like you have like 100 lines for, I've got none. So like being able to check that efficiently, running basically like all the logic next to the database, and you're like doing loops inside of here to collect, like there's a lot of actually like technical benefits to this, why it like works pretty well for a lot of like patient record stuff. I mean, the language is kind of insane. It has like a bunch of insane semantics, but it's also one of those things where it's like, okay, well, Epic built their own IDE. They just made all of the insane stuff show up as errors where you can't merge it. Like, it's just like, oh, you did the thing that's dumb. Mumps has some dumb stuff. You can't do it. Just can't. Sorry. Not allowed. And they're like, you're right. I forgot to notice that. I can't do that. And so they just like, made some of those disappear. I actually wrote, so I'll tell you, it's kind of a funny story about that, which is, once again, I'm a code and documentation reader. I like exploring and going to find stuff. So I'm just poking around in random modules, like at the day job, exploring stuff, figuring out, what's going on. And I found a module for reading, parsing, and writing Excel files in this random M file, which kind of makes sense because we interface with business people and they like Excel files. So you're like, sure, okay. And my application that I was on was called Data Link. And basically what we did is we would take medical insurance claims, so stuff that you would send to your insurer. They would send basically a big dump of files about those claims to us. And then we would check those and say like, oh, do we have this information or do we not have this information? Because maybe you go and see someone out of network and like your home doctor doesn't know that you broke your arm. It's like actually really good because then when your doctor asks you, hey, any updates since last time you've been in? And you go, no, because everyone forgets when the last time they went and saw their doctor was. So they say, no updates, same. And then it says, hey, it looks like you've been on some serious painkillers because you broke your arm in the last 6 months. They're like, oh yeah, that did happen. That's a big problem if that's not in your chart. That's a big, big problem. So my application was designed to like solve that, right? That I got put on and was working on. But the problem was like testing this was insane because you have to load stuff into this big data warehouse, and you're like letting it run ETLs. And then when the ETLs finish for billing, then they get put in this spot and then blah, blah, blah. And then eventually it funnels down into your environment. And it's like very complicated, always takes QA a long time. People get mad if you're running the ETLs at the wrong time of the day. They're like, hey, dude, I didn't expect the ETL to be running. That caused my thing to break. Whatever, right? So with these, this has been a constant problem for me, like at Epic for a while. And so I was like, oh, well, what if we just like wrote tests into Excel files, right? Where we have inputs of like claims and output of records. What do we want to see in the actual database for these patients, right? And so then I wrote that and I turned like a bunch of workflows for QA that used to take like 2 to 3 days into like 5 minutes or less, and it was automated. So it was awesome. But the next problem was, how do they run all the tests? How do they find them? You need to make a thing that can test run. And so I actually built a fuzzy finder. This is my first fuzzy finder. I built a simple fuzzy finder for them that would search over all of our different test files so that they could find them and run them easily, so that they would actually use the test runner, as opposed to having a really good piece of tech that is too complicated to use that no one does it. This happens all the time. Engineers think, I solved the problem. If no one's using it, you didn't solve the problem! You know, right? Like, so that was actually the very first time that I wrote a fuzzy finder, which was fun, and I just explored that in months. So I was like, you can write anything in any language, guys. It's going to be okay.
And you pushed it to the finish line, which is the important part. Nice. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So this was your first work, Epic.
Yeah. I had some like internships in some place that I, like interned and did throughout college that I was doing software stuff, but it was my first like, real job after school. Yep.
If you look back on it, what would you say were the lessons that you got from there?
I don't want to work in medical software.
Okay.
I mean, the main thing for me was, it was just like, it's just very different. Like, it's a lot of red tape. It's very difficult to push for big changes and to try and make, new improvements and new stuff happen, and for good reasons. Like, there's lots of people who are really happy with, like, we got a spec. Let's do the spec. That's cool. Right. And like, it's not, I'm not saying that's like a negative thing. It was just like, oh, that does not get me up out of bed in the morning and like get excited about working on that. So I wanted to get kind of out of medical like stuff. It wasn't super fun for me. I also learned that I didn't really like working at huge companies like as much. Like, I thought Epic was pretty good. Like, if Epic was in Michigan where I live now and I could live close to my family, then I would have thought about, maybe I wouldn't have left. Like, the main reason I left was because I wanted to move back home so me and my wife could have kiddos next to our parents. But because I liked it just fine there. Like, I thought it was pretty good. Pay was good. It was happy. Stable business. People are going to keep going to the doctor. Like, you're helping people. Like, I mean, if you're doing a good job, you're helping people, right? Because it's like, you're giving them better care. That's awesome. So like, there are lots of things that I liked about working at Epic. So, but yeah, those were probably like the main lessons. The other thing was just like, yeah, you can make stuff happen still, even at big companies. Was like, I didn't like it as much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still was able to push a lot of change, like on my team and for the people I worked with, but it just was not really for me as much.
Yeah, the combination of huge company where you have levels and also medical, like regulated environment, because it doesn't need to be medical. It can be like, automotive. It's going to be the same problem. Yes. Like, this combination sounds rough.
Yeah. And at least for medical or even like automotive, I guess, at least you feel like the red tape is for a good reason. You're like, okay, well, we do really want to have some other people take a look at the code before it gets pushed. Like, that is a good idea. Like, we really do want to have that happen. So at least like for me, that felt better, even if it was like sometimes frustrating. I could remind myself like, yeah, okay, but we do want 10 people to look at this before it makes it to someone else's computer. Like, we kind of do want that.
So you're leaving Epic, and what happens next?
I wanted to look for a remote job so that I could get a job while I was still in Madison, while we were looking to move back to Grand Rapids. And I was also kind of interested in trying that out and seeing what I could do. And I thought I could probably make more money than like what was in the Grand Rapids market at the time. And I really liked Python. That was the language that made me fall in love with programming. That was the first language that I learned at school. And I was like, I love this. I want to do this forever. I still do like a lot of things about Python. So I was just grinding hard to apply at places and get a job. I mean, I was like still working at Epic while I was doing this. I did some stuff probably that like maybe some people say is a bad idea, but I did it anyway. I told my boss like, hey, I'm applying for other places. Don't put me in charge of any big projects because I'm going to leave in the next 6 months. And he was super confused.
Yeah, what's his reaction?
So my boss, love him, great guy. Handbook maximizer. He was like, if it's not in the handbook, I don't know what to do. Don't know how to be a boss if it's not in the handbook. And like, sweet guy. I loved working for him and with him. I was always sad that he stopped being a software developer and moved to manager because he was a great dev. But so he was like just confused. He's like, well, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do about this. I'm like, well, nothing right now, hopefully, but because I was about to get in charge of some really big, probably like year and a half projects. And I was like, they're going to be in a bad spot. I'm going to leave. Like, I am leaving. I'm going to move back home. I don't know when. And like, that's one of those things where it's like, I don't, for me, I would just rather do what I thought was the right thing than maybe what the best thing for my career was. But it was fine. They were chill. They're like, okay, all right. I'm not sure what to do. I'll push that up the chain a little bit. So they did. That was fine. But it's one of the nice things about if you're doing a really good job, they want you for every day that they can have you. So like, they still wanted me there for as many days as I was willing to work there. So it was no big deal. But so I'm applying for a bunch of places, looking for remote work. At the time, like, I have a few Neovim contributions, but nothing serious. Nobody knows like who I am or anything like that, right? I'm just like a random Midwest boy looking for a Silicon Valley job.
But with the resume, you have the Neovim contributions there, right? When you apply.
Yeah, sure. But okay. It's like, I mean, okay, number one, does a recruiter or an automatic system care? Like, they do not. You're going to get screened. Like, it's, which was fine. So, I mean, I applied at a ton of places, and like got mostly ghosted as just like filtered out at the first phase, like my resume, which is fine. Like, it's, that it is what it is. Finally got an interview, at a place called Sorceress. We did like recruiting software stuff that helped people like get matched based on like skills rather than keywords. Actually, like pretty early on a lot of ML stuff. So doing a lot, I wasn't personally, but we had some people at the company doing stuff where it would be like, okay, this company needs like these skills. These things are like correlated with those skills, right? So like if they said we need JavaScript experience and someone had TypeScript, you wouldn't get filtered out because that can happen with keyword searches, which is because like recruiter types in TypeScript, system filters out someone because they say JavaScript or vice versa, right? And you're like, well, that's dumb. Those are really close to each other. Even Python experience puts you closer because you're like, I'm writing a garbage collected, so it's like a bunch of stuff like this. So we were building a platform for that. Main reason I think I got the like interview there was my cover letter. So shout out to cover letters. That's your chance for a non-standard way of getting hired and breaking into somewhere is convincing them why you would be an interesting.
What did you write there?
Oh yeah, good question. So every company that I applied for, that I was like actually interested in working at, I went and checked their website, found all the places where they wrote what their company values were and what they were interested in doing. And then I would write something about why I thought I fit those values and was a good fit. Cause I mean, like, I thought I was a good software developer, right? But like, you can only write so many times about, hey, I'm a really good software developer. You should trust me. That doesn't work that good. It just doesn't work that good. So you want to show that you would be a valuable hire, that they'd want to work with you. So one of the things they had for Sorceress was they had this thing about like they're very empathetic company, a bunch of things like this. So I wrote about how my wife and I volunteered at a thing on Friday nights for people who were like English as a second language. And most of them were like visiting scholars to the United States. So they would just come in like University of Wisconsin-Madison, and we'd meet on Friday nights and like answer questions or like teach them about American culture, or some of them we became very good friends with and like invited over for Thanksgiving or doing all this other stuff.
Nice.
After we were moving back, I actually went to China and visited a bunch of our friends like back home, which was super cool. We can talk about that too if you want. But yeah, so I just wrote like about that because I thought, hey, this is something that I'm doing that really matches with your guys' values. And then they gave me a shot. And then I went 1-for-1 on my interviews. So that was great. I got hired. Amazing interview process there too. Really liked that interview a lot. And then I started working remote, doing Python stuff. Django backend. Very fun.
The amazing interview, did it have lead code questions or?
No lead code questions. I mean, like there was a simple, like, can you program one, not like a lead code hard or anything. Like if you can program, you can solve the question. like within an hour. And then like next phase, I don't remember exactly the order, but the next phase was something more of like just I think it went that one which was live with someone took less than an hour, and then if you pass that one, then we did a like take home where you solved an actual bug like in their system, and they paid you based on how, like, they were like, oh, this should take like about this many hours, like as long as you're close to this, we'll pay you like a good rate for this regardless of whether we hire you or not. So that was cool. So I got to like work with them on GitHub and see if it was a company that I wanted to work at, and like
Yeah.
the code base was something that I wanted to touch and and do stuff like that. And then the next phase was very final phase was solve a incredibly difficult like it's not even leak code, it's like world competitive programming competition question kind of thing. But solve it with like it's small startup, so solve it with the founder. And we just like worked on it together. Both of us didn't know the answer, right? So it's just like, we'll just work on it for an hour. We didn't solve it. Like we couldn't figure it out, but it was about working together. Can I ask questions? How do I deal with things when it doesn't work? Like when it's not there, how do we talk? Is that good? I really like that one. And then we just had like a call at the end to make sure like good culture fit with some of the other people there. But yeah, I really like that interview process a lot.
Yeah. It sounds like it's time consuming on the company side.
Yes.
But you get a fair idea of how the person will work once you hire.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't scale to 200-person company probably, but like it's really nice when you've got maybe 10 software devs or less, and you really don't want to hire someone that's not a good fit for that. Yeah.
Okay. So Python, Django development, and then Neovim in the meantime. Like
So then I was just back. So while I was at Epic, I was like attempting, when I was like in between things or doing some other stuff, I was like trying to build my own competitor to our IDE, like inside of Neovim. So I was like still doing some Neovim stuff, but not like, I didn't get to use it, for 40 hours a week. It was like a few hours a week. It was just a fun project to explore and do other stuff. So then I was back, and now I could use whatever I wanted. So I was using Neovim for a lot of stuff. I was also using IntelliJ for some things, and we had some like cool, special stuff built for IntelliJ. That was really cool at the company. So I would use that sometimes. And but like in the meantime, I'm like working on Neovim, and then sometimes it's like, oh, like LSP, we need it, So I was working on some LSP stuff back then again, and starting to do some different like Lua integration things as fun stuff on the side, and just kind of working on those for fun. Yeah.
Okay. How did you manage to have time for that? If you went back to start a family?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have kids yet. So, I mean, it's like, it takes at least 9 months,
Okay.
So, but like, yeah, I mean, it was just, I honestly, I don't really remember. I mean, part of it was like, my wife was a physician assistant at the time, and she had to do a lot of charting. So I think, I don't know, maybe I was doing that some of the time while she was charting. I also just liked it. So it's like fun. It's like, you got time, you got hours in the day, so you're going to fill it up with something you like. I was like, I like hanging on Neovim and like playing with programming stuff. It's cool.
Okay. So it was more like after work on Neovim, during work on work, and
yeah, right. So I mean, like at work, I wasn't like working 100 hours a week or anything at work. I was pretty usually around like 40, and then I would just do some other fun programming stuff like on the side.
Okay. And then we arrive at Telescope at some point.
Yes. Yeah, that's next. Yep.
What, like, how it was born? Out of frustration or what?
So probably need to take one step back, which is like I started streaming during this time before I started Telescope. That all started, I saw a video of Prime, the Primeagen, on YouTube. He was doing a Neovim thing, and I'm like, that's pretty funny. Like, I didn't even know people made videos about this. Like, that's pretty funny. That's cool. And then at the end of it, he goes like, yeah, and I stream on Twitch. And I'm like, that's insane. That's where I watch, like I said, the international. Like, people do programming on here. So I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. So I checked out his stream. I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of funny, and he was working on some Neovim like plugin at the time. He was doing like his like Neovim battle stuff there. And so I'm in the chat, I'm sending a bunch of stuff in, he's like getting stuck and he's like, what the heck? Like, why do you know so many things about Neovim, basically? And I'm like, well, you can check like the GitHub page, and like I'm the last commit in Neovim at the time, which is pretty funny. And so he's like, what? Oh, I had gotten Neovim core in between this time for doing a bunch of stuff with LSP, some stuff with Lua, and doing like some mentoring for some people for GSOC, for Google Summer of Code. So like I'd gotten Neovim core over this time of just like happenstance of doing things where it was kind of like, hey, you're doing a lot of good stuff. Can we like have you help with some other things? I was like, yeah, sure, that's fun. So then I get on a call, like Prime's like, call me after this on Discord so we could talk about some stuff. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So we called him. Me and Prime end up just having a bunch of stuff like in common, like things that we like, philosophy, like a bunch of random stuff that we're just talking about software. Like especially at the time, so many people are so
yeah.
I don't know how to describe it except like killjoys about everything about programming, right? It's like, no, we're super serious. We got to take ourselves super serious. And like, if you guys have fun with programming, you're evil and we're going to make sure you never work in this country again. So it was like, that was clearly not him. He's having fun with programming. I'm like, I love programming. This is the coolest thing ever. I'm like, I get to sit inside and I get to make good money in front of a computer. I'm literally the most blessed person that's ever exist. Like, this is amazing. So he's like, dude, you should just stream your Neovim open source stuff. And I said, that's lame. That's not no one's gonna watch that. But I was like, okay, sure. I mean, I'll give it a try. There were a few people in like Prime's community that were like, oh yeah, Tej, you should do it. Like, we'll come hang out. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's fun. I've been enjoying
How big is now that Prime community?
His average live is probably like 150 to 200-ish, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a go. That sounds fun. So I started streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. to midnight, every week, and started having a lot of fun. I was working on a bunch of Neovim open source stuff and just like enjoying streaming and hanging out with people and like getting to hang out with other like Neovim, even like, sometimes other Neovim maintainers or whatever are coming and hanging out, and we're just like chit-chatting about whatever. So it's just like doing the open source stuff I was doing before, but like a lot more fun because I get to hang out with friends. And like during this time, I'm working a lot on Lua integration, and I'm still to this day, FCF, very cool, big fan. But one of the things that I was like, it kind of stinks that like FCF like doesn't use the same color scheme, isn't like deeply integrated with Neovim. It's like kind of a pain to like talk to FZF like from Neovim, right? You have to like write to a temp file and then it reads it and does all this other stuff. So, like, that's really annoying. So I was like, oh, well, maybe it would be cool as like a project to just see what could happen if we started like a fuzzy finder thing inside of Neovim, where the goal was just to push Neovim as hard as we could in the direction of Lua integration. Right? Like I didn't think anyone was going to use it. I was not trying to make anything that people would use. It was just like a fun stream project that would guide me on what Lua things we needed to fix. So I started that, and then people were like, well, that looks good. Because it's like, oh, it's the same colors. Finally, my fuzzy finder's the same colors as my Neovim thing. Or like, oh, it's cool that it can search through like diagnostics from LSP or like references. That's really cool. Oh, you only had to write like a little bit of Lua to make that happen. And so then that kind of like spiraled out of control. And like, like in the sense that just like a lot of people started actually really liking it and using it. And it did guide like a lot of Lua integration like for things that we need to do. I was like, oh, key maps we got to do, and we got to get auto commands, and we got to fix like options, and we got to do a bunch of these things that led to a bunch of spin-off Lua integration work that like I and some other people ended up doing. And then like it was like, cool, we can delete all of this code inside of Telescope and it's way better now. Awesome. That's great. So that's how Telescope started. And like So like now I think there's probably some like better fuzzy finders for Neovim than Telescope. Like I think Folk's got one. I haven't tested it out yet, but it seems really good. And like people are like, oh, are you sad or whatever? I'm like, no, like Telescope it did all the things that I wanted it to accomplish, which was like pushing Neovim's Lua integration like much further, and like in a lot of ways, I think just showing people like, hey, like just because it's inside of Neovim, like doesn't mean that it has to be super ugly. Like we can just make it like look good and be interactive and like explore all these things with floating windows and push the boundary there and like get this and so I think it helped to kind of like just change the perspective on what could be made inside of Neovim, right? Like at the time, it was much more like, no, we have to use external tools and compose them only. We're not allowed to write Neovim specific software. It's kind of like the feeling, right? Because it was like we didn't want to be Emacs, right? Like that was like a lot of community thing. Like, why would you write a fuzzy finder inside of Neovim? It's like, well, I don't know, because I can, like, and I like it, so I'm having fun. But because that's definitely been like a shift since, like, it's a very different culture than from like Vim, for example, right? Like Vim is much more like we won't like write custom stuff for Vim to put it in. We're going to compose external tools. Like it has to be through the shell. It has to be through these other things. I'm not saying that's wrong or anything, but it's just like we can have nice things. Like we can just write them, and then we can have nice things inside of Neovim made just for Neovim. Like if I'm going to spend 40 hours inside of Neovim a week, I don't think it's that weird for it to work well. Like, like that's okay. Yeah. So that's kind of like the origin of Telescope, and I just worked on it on stream pretty much and had a lot of fun building it, and then other people saw it and were having fun and were contributing, and then yeah, I don't know. Like I haven't really written anything in Telescope in forever. For me, it's like finished software. Like it does exactly what I need it to do. I don't really need it to change at all. Like it's great for everything that I need. So I haven't changed it in a long time. Yeah.
When it got traction, did it got a lot of contributions and people like try, let's match this PR, and like did you need to like fight off some of the attention, or how did it look like?
No, I thought it was cool. I thought it was awesome. People wanted to like help out and do stuff. I mean, I got a lot of people. I mean, I also said no to a lot of stuff, which was fine. And like, yeah, obviously like it's the internet, so you get haters. That's cool too. Like whatever. I don't care. Like I'm going to turn my computer off and go hang out with my wife. Good luck, I guess. Like I'm not, it doesn't bother me at all. So yeah, it was, but yeah, it was, for me, it was super encouraging and super fun that I was making something that other people were using. I was having a good time with that, it wasn't what I expected to happen, but I was enjoying it. Yeah.
Okay. So, were there any difficulties? Like in Telescope, you bring in a lot of like items, right?
Yeah.
Like, were there some performance issues? Like,
oh yeah, tons. I mean, we would have sometimes where we'd have to go rewrite a bunch of stuff to make it like go faster or whatever. I mean, like Telescope's still way slower than FCF. Like if you're gonna search something like Linux kernel, if you're in Linux kernel all the time, like one of the other fuzzy finders is probably like better. I mean, maybe if you have a super duper fast computer, then it's no big deal. Like my computer's fast, so like for me, it's good. But like a lot of Telescope stuff happens all just on the main thread. That was the other thing though. Like in some ways it's a design flaw, but in other ways, like I wanted to push and see how far we could take like that idea inside of Neovim, right? Like I just didn't know. I was like, can we only sort like 10 things, or can we sort like 1,000 or 10,000? I don't know. I had never seen like whether we can do this. Everyone was used to Vim script being so slow you couldn't do anything inside the editor, right? Like you just couldn't do anything inside the editor. Right? So if you're running LuaJIT though, all of a sudden you can like do some sorting of like 10,000 items on every keystroke, and it's no big deal. It doesn't feel bad. So yeah, so I think, there's still some stuff that if I was like, I would go back, like I would go change like how we do it and how we draw to the screen and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, that's okay. It's also fast enough for me. So
okay. Then does Telescope kind of mark the end of your Neovim contributions, or?
No, I mean, I was doing probably during that time when I was developing Telescope, doing the most Neovim contributions like of at any point, because I was doing a bunch of work on like Lua integration stuff. So like through that time period, like of earlier into my streaming and like earlier in other stuff, like all I did was work on Neovim on stream. So I mean, like I did a lot of other like big projects, a lot of them as a result from Telescope. Like I said, like it was very evident, like, oh, we need to get auto commands like built with Lua. So this might have been when I was at SourceGraph actually later, but like either way, like it must have been, yeah. Like on one of my paternity leaves, though, I just took like a month to work on that full time, basically, which was fun. So I was like, worked for a month on like doing auto commands, which was cool, and then we got them merged. So I was spending like the most time later on Neovim that I did like at any point. Yeah.
Okay. Then, SourceGraph happens.
Yep.
At some point. I've used SourceGraph, meaning the searching, the actual, like, we bought the product when I was in a company that had like 1,000 microservices and buttload of repositories, and this was super cool.
Yes, I love SourceGraph search. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then you joined, and what did you work on there?
Yeah, so I worked on our language tooling team. So like a lot of what I did was work on. So we had this feature called Precise Code Intelligence, which basically was like LSP but static, pretty much. So it would be, hey, you've got a ginormous Go repo. We can run something on it. We'll create a mini database for it, approximately, in the shorthand version. You can upload that database into SourceGraph, and you can do point and click, and like go to definition and find like every reference of a function. Oh, you want to find it in all of your microservices? Yeah, we do that. Right? So you can like literally connect at a compiler level, like accuracy, doing that stuff. So I worked on a bunch of things for that. I worked on like our Go one a lot. I worked on one that we did for Rust. I worked on one that we did a little bit for TypeScript. I did a little bit of stuff for Python. So we were writing like approximately like compiler tools or like code intelligence tools. For those, that was like a lot of what I did. And then the other side of what I worked on was like we did some sort of like fuzzy analysis stuff of like using tree sitter to like get best guess definitions for things, where it's like, okay, you want to jump between, some basic files or jump within a certain file and you don't have this precise code intel. We can get this running with like no setup and all this other stuff of just like using tree sitter to approximate rules for that. So I worked on a bunch of stuff for that. And then I also worked a lot on our syntax highlighter stuff for using tree sitter. A bunch of stuff that I'd used already in Neovim. I was like, well, this kind of already a solved problem. Like we can do this in a much.
I saw that in Neovim, so we can solve it.
Yeah, right. Well, yes, literally that was what happened. So to this day, I've got a lot of Rust code running in production from that. So that was so that's something not a lot of people can say. So
nice. Was it that like on LSP you started to learn about like language design and compiler stuff, and then helped on SourceGraph, or not really?
It was more just like I like developer tools a lot. So like, I mean, working on an LSP client, you don't have to know anything about languages. Like there's nothing about it that you have to know languages for. But I just liked making developer tools. So that's why I wanted to go to SourceGraph and work on developer tools. And I liked, I like learning about languages. I like learning new stuff. So I was like, I'd like to apply for the, like language intelligence team. It seems super cool. They make a lot of really cool stuff. So I knew some stuff about, obviously, like I got a job there and then worked on it. But like, yeah, it was not really necessarily from the LSP thing. It was probably more from tree sitter and from just like general curiosity of a bunch of stuff that I had some background for those things. Yeah.
Okay. This was remote, I'm assuming.
100%, yeah.
Okay. And then, well, since we mentioned the recruitment process for the last company, how did the SourceGraph recruitment process?
Was really good too. I liked it a lot. I mean, obviously, like at the time I'm going to SourceGraph, I'm like a lot more senior software developer. I have like a little bit of a unique position in sort of the situation of like, you can just go look at my code or like go look at the thousands of hours of me writing code. Like it's we didn't have to do a lot of like, can TJ write code? It's that part's already like very obvious. And like at the time and still like right now, unless I really desperately was like really wanted that. I would be kind of offended if someone like made me go do simple ones, because I'd be like, it's like clearly that it's just not a good fit. Like you guys are going to be so stuck on process that you can't just like go look around and see that that's clear. Like it's just not going to be a super good like culture fit for that. I mean, so instead what we did was like two main things. We did like a system design like interview where it was just like, hey, here's some constraints, what would you do? Okay, and then here's more constraints, here's what you do. We didn't have to write any code for that, but draw some diagrams and chat and discuss like trade-offs and other stuff like that. And then the other one was like do a tour of some code that you've written. So like I showed Telescope stuff and like how is Telescope designed, why did I make these decisions, showed off a bunch of code that I wrote and like did a like deep dive on that with two people. And then I think there was like one or two, like phone calls or something at the end and stuff like that. But those are the two sort of like main things for that interview. And I like those a lot. We did similar things for other people like at the seniority level like that I was applying for later as well, which I liked.
That's a good sign that company adapts the recruitment process to
I mean, we didn't make anybody do like lead code stuff
okay.
for like we may have for like some junior, some like intern stuff where you're like much more likely to get someone applying who literally can't write a for loop, and you're like, okay, well that's kind of a problem. But yeah, like it was good. It was very it was a good process. But yeah.
Okay. How did you like it at SourceGraph? It
I
seems like
liked it a lot.
Awesome company from outside.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the two founders, Quinn and Byung. Like, I loved working with them. Really liked like my team that I was on and stuff too. So, like, it was fun. It was very interesting work. And then like I mean, the main reason I left was eventually it was kind of like the streaming thing was going well. It was going in an interesting direction. And I was like, I kind of want to just see what happens if I try like really hard at just doing streaming instead of trying to like juggle my job and streaming and like stuff in my church and my family and like also occasionally like, resting and like doing some other stuff. So I was like, okay, well, what if I just like really focused on like this whole streamer programming content world instead of just trying to juggle both like all the time. With like I said, with other life constraints, kids in church and stuff like that. Yeah.
How do you manage with the time?
What, now or then, or
let's say then? Like
yeah,
how?
I mean, the main thing was then I had to have a much more strict schedule just about when I was going to be doing stuff, and like my wife is a stay-at-home mom, so she helps like make life happen a lot. So a lot of it is to her credit of, she's very helpful and helps me like do a lot of stuff. But yeah, like when I was streaming, when I started, it was like, well, my hours to stream are 8 to midnight, Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's when I stream. And like, okay, so that's when I do it. So it's in the schedule. Like I know when it is, and that's when it's going to happen. Maybe occasionally there's a bonus stream here or there, or whatever. And then as I was doing more stuff with SourceGraph, I tried to work my schedule to be a little bit like different. Like sometimes at various points there, it was like, work like 9 hours Monday through Thursday. So I could do a half day on Friday. So I could stream for like half of a day on Friday or something, right? Like, so that I could just do my own thing. Also at the time, SourceGraph was like basically all open source. So I could also stream my work at SourceGraph. So I was doing some of that too, which was helpful. Like, cause then I could double dip, which was nice. Yeah, so I mean, I like the main thing was just like being diligent about when I was going to be working and when I was going to be streaming, and then not doing those outside of that time. Yeah.
Okay. At what point did you find your streaming aspect of life more, I don't know, engaging to enough to drop the daily work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, part of it was more just, I don't even know if engaging is the right word exactly, but like a lot of it was just, I was really interested in like what could happen if I tried really hard on doing this. Like it felt like there was just a lot of stuff that I wanted to try and see what could happen. And like I was just not going to be able to do it and do this other thing at the same time. Like me and Prime had been talking for quite a while about trying to start like our own brand for some other stuff or do some other things like that, which is how eventually Terminal got started. But it's like, well, I can't do that at the same time. Like, I'm just not going to try and like sell anything at the same time I'm doing this and that. Like, it won't work. I mean, it's hard enough.
Yeah, two jobs and family.
Yes, right. It's hard enough doing, Terminal as a sole focus. So I'm like, yeah, I was very right that I couldn't do these both at the same time. So it was more like that I was curious and interested to see like what the ceiling for a bunch of this stuff would be versus like doing a regular like software day job kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question exactly.
Kind of, but I understand that it's difficult to just pinpoint and say like you wanted to see what happens, and if you were to like commit to
if I was gonna pick one moment, it was like I was literally in the shower like thinking like doing some math in my head, and I was like, oh, I think like if we do like X, Y, and Z, and like over the next year I execute on these things, like I can definitely pay all the bills. Like with streaming or like streaming related stuff, like, doing a boot dev course or doing some other stuff like that. I could definitely pay like all the bills that I needed to pay. Like I live in a low cost of living area and we don't spend tons of money. So it's like, I don't have to be making, $1 million a year, to like try this out. And so then I was like, hey, Kayleen, what do you think about me kind of like quitting my job and doing doing streaming stuff all the time? She's like, well, if you think it's a good idea. So, yeah.
Okay. Nice. I often talk to people on the podcast and I'm so hyped up afterwards and go to my wife and it's like, oh, you can't believe this, like this person. And she's like, do they have kids? Do they have wife? Do they have partners? Like, and like calming me down. And here I have an example. It's like,
there you go. Yes.
So I'm going to use that.
There you go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I'm going to get an angry call. I'm going to get an angry call from her, aren't I?
Yeah, exactly. Tangent. You have a dog.
Yeah.
You have a dog, right?
Yeah.
Do you do like training with a dog, or is it like
I mean, we used to do a lot more like when we didn't have kids. Like we got like the short version of the story, like we moved back to Grand Rapids and then like we wanted to have kids, but then we just didn't get pregnant for like a year and a half. Thought maybe we were not closer to like a year at this point. Like we thought we were just not going to have, but like maybe that's just not going to happen. Like maybe we'll need to adopt or do something else, whatever, we'll see what I don't know what God's plan is for this is maybe we just don't have kids. Or like in that way we were going to adopt then instead. And so we're like, okay, well, that's fine. Like, okay. So like we were going to wait to get a dog till after we had kids. But then we were like, well, I don't know when that's happening. So like, let's get a dog. We don't need to wait forever. And then like, literally a month later, we got pregnant, which was very funny. But yeah, so we got our German Shepherd. So, while before we had kids, it was really easy to train her. You could just go, we could spend a lot of time on her. Now, she likes playing with the kids and hanging out in my office and stuff, but not as much training anymore.
Okay. What kind of things you trained?
Oh, we did a ton of stuff with her when she was little. I mean, we did a lot of stuff to make sure she was very like well socialized with people and stuff. She's a German Shepherd. She's like 60 pounds, so she's like plenty of dog. But she's like the kids, fall on her off the couch or like, do stuff like this. And she's just like, okay, she doesn't, we did a lot of practice with like socializing and like, oh, we're going to touch your food when you're eating, or like we did a lot of tricks, like sit down, roll over, park it. That's one of my favorite ones. She runs behind and then goes between your legs and sits down like a garage kind of like park it.
Whoa. Nice.
Yeah, we like, and she likes playing catch. She's really good at catching like a Frisbee and stuff like that too. So we did like a lot more of that. And then then we have kids and like, I love my dog, but it's not the same as I love my kids. So, she still gets a lot of attention, just not the same. It's a lot of secondary attention and like attention from the kiddos. They like to chase her and, go play outside with her and stuff like that.
Yeah. She gets a lot of probably training from the kids.
She does. Yeah. Training, she gets
but play.
A lot of love from them too, which is fun. Yeah.
Awesome. How did you have any fear that like, if a child will walk to her very closely, she will react like weirdly? Or
No, that's like I don't have any worry about that with her. She's very, very gentle. And that was one of the things like we practiced with her. Like when dogs are little, they'll like take what you do and think that that's like okay. So you just like, not painfully, but you like pull on their ear, or you stick your hand in your mouth, or you take food away from them, or you do some stuff like that, especially if they're big. And then they're just like, oh, that's just part of life. Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, she has a lot, like when we go, walk around in town or something with her, something like kids should not, but they do, which is fine. Like they run up and give her a hug and stuff like that because she's really pretty and cute and everything. And I'm like, it's fine because I know she's going to be good. But I'm like, that's not good dog safety for your kids. You should make them ask first because sometimes dogs look nice and they aren't.
I have a dog. I have a dog like that. And the number of situations like that happened and didn't end well.
Yes.
I can't tell you.
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, I know. So that's the like funny or like, I don't know, the complicated side for us is like, kiddos, not every dog is like Ember. Not every dog will let you just hug her or like jump on her back or like pull her ears or stick your hand in your mouth and like pull out a toy. Some of them won't like that. So you guys got to remember when we're in public and you see a dog, that's not Ember. You can't just do what you do with Ember. She's like, we did a lot of training with her to make her like ready for that situation.
Okay. Coming back.
Yeah.
Leaving Sourcegraph and going streaming more full time and planning on other things. At this point, your relationship with Primeagen is already like some sort of established, right?
Yeah, we've been doing stuff together. I mean, in a lot of ways, basically since I started streaming. And then we had been just doing more stuff, like doing an event together thing, like online, or like doing a stream together, or just like hanging out in each other's chats, or, talking shop about making YouTube videos and stuff. Like, and so, I had been saying I wanted to go full time. He had been talking about it, and one of the things we were saying was like I want to build something that's like interesting for like our community, right? Like, and I didn't really want to do like a software as a service kind of thing that we did as like our main thing, mostly because it's like that's hard and it's easy to like mess up everybody's production database and then they hate you forever. Right? Like it's like I just didn't want to be like in the spot where like all the time I'm shilling like, oh yeah, the thing I made is perfect and you should use it to build your whole business, and then it doesn't work for somebody. Like that's not fun. And one of the things, I mean, me and Prime had always wanted, like, and one of our main goals for content was like, guys, like tech can be fun. Like it's a really cool thing. It's a really great, like, from my side, like a great blessing that we're here and able to do all of this stuff. So like, what can we do that's fun? What can we do that's funny and like makes people smile and laugh? And so eventually we were bouncing lots of ideas around and stuff. And like one of them was like, what if we sold something in Neovim? And like, okay, well that's a little actually too complicated because like, I don't want to run anything in other people's Neovims. Like it's too weird. So then eventually we were like, selling coffee over SSH would be hilarious. And so then we talked to Dax and Adam and like got them on board and stuff. And then like literally that's how Terminal started. We went to React Miami and we built the first version of the shop in 2 days on stream, which was super fun. And then like sold our first bag of coffee that weekend at the thing. And then, yeah. That's how Terminal got started.
For the outside world, it kind of seems like a meme company in a way.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Like you, it seems like no work is actually happening. Like, I guess like you offload this to Adam, like
exactly.
you do all the cool stuff, like video shooting shit, like here and there, like all the stuff, and like somebody is doing this work, but not really you. Like that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, some of that's probably we're like, for the first year of Terminal, we were still exploring a lot of what we wanted it to be, and like what we were going to do with it, and were we going to try and do other stuff besides like it's like a real company really can buy coffee, and stuff like, but are we going to do other stuff? And then like, this year at React Miami, which was 1 year after we had started, right? It was like, okay, I think like this is kind of a serious thing. We should we should figure out what we're gonna do there like more seriously. So I think over the next year you'll see some more fun stuff, from us, and some different things that we're doing, like some bigger events, like we did the tower where we were in LA and we were in a water tower making a game. We're doing that again in September. We're going to ship the game to Steam, which is going to be exciting. So we're going to finishing the game.
We're finishing
the game that we started. Yeah. What?
You mean like you're going to finish it 22 to 29th of September? You're doing this?
Yes, yeah.
And you have a rock solid plan that by 29th it's done.
Yeah. I mean, like we've got some people in our that we're working with to work on the game, and we're working on the game, and we're doing some stuff off stream. You'll see us start working probably on stream a little bit more on the game too, and then it'll be we're uploading something to Steam at the end of the week. It has to, it just has to. Okay. So
okay, nice.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Yes, so it should be a very fun event. Again, this time, we have a little bit more time to prepare and know some more things that we didn't know last time, and just have a little bit. It was our first time running a crazy 24-hour, 7 days in a row stream. You learn a lot of stuff. Never tried that before. So just like in software, you want to iterate. We're iterating on figuring out about events and doing stuff like that. So I think this one will be very fun. I'm feeling very excited and very optimistic about it. Yeah.
Nice. In the first run of Tower game development, I was 7 days and vibe coding, and you you kind of were expecting to be done with 7 days, and then it was
Prime was we'll get it done in 2 days, and I'm games are complicated. We had a game that you could play that really did deliver on the stuff that we had set out for, right? It really was a tower defense game with roguelike elements where you built a deck. It really was a roguelike tower defense deck builder. We did build that game in 1 week, which was fun, but it was after we were done, we were kind of I think this game actually kind of has legs. If we spent some more time thinking about mechanics, and we really thought have some time where we sit down, and instead of on stream and trying to do this within 4 hours of sleep and doing all of it at the same time, if we actually iterated on the game design for a while, we could come out with something really interesting. So we're well, what if we do that and then try and run the tower back? And so then we are. Yeah.
What platforms are you targeting?
Initially, we'll just do PC. Through Steam. So it'll run on Mac and stuff too. So Mac, Windows, and Linux will all run. It's because it's on Love 2D. It's possible, I think, to do some of the other platforms, but if we sold 100,000 copies of the game, then I would think about getting it on mobile too. You know what I mean? But no. Keeping the scope as limited as possible. I don't want to think about a finger versus mouse for this round. Let's build.
That's what
let's build the UX that just works for a mouse and keyboard, and then if that's really good and there's a compelling game there, then we could think about doing something else with it again. But otherwise, it might just be that's really cool. I played it for 3 hours, and then that's all I wanted to play. Well, okay, well if that's the case, then I would much rather ship a game that's fun on PC than ship a half-baked game on mobile and PC, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to end in that situation for it. So
also, besides mobile, there are handheld consoles.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
It does work on Steam Deck. Someone just our editor, has Steam Deck, and he tested it out. He's you can actually play this on Steam Deck.
Nice.
I'm cool. Because I didn't know that, but yeah.
Then you need to have a touch input fully.
Love 2D does some stuff where it kind of automatically handles some of these things. So, but yeah, I if it works on Steam Deck, that's great, but I don't care for September 29. That can be a 2026 problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, on the topic of Love 2D and Balatro, great run. I've seen it.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff.
And, thank you.
And the fact that Balatro is run in Love 2D, in Lua, is written in Lua is mind blowing to me.
Yes.
Probably.
That was actually the inspiration for why I wanted to do our game in Lua. there's probably like, there were better options probably for like the kind of game that we wanted to make, like, which is fine. But part of it is like, it's a little complicated when you pick something that you're going to stream. You want to pick something that like people can read the code and kind of understand what's going on, and like don't have to have like a crazy amount of some engine experience to understand what's happening, right? Like, oh, we could have just done our own custom game engine in Odin and had an awesome time and like probably gotten farther, and the type system would have saved us a lot of work and stuff. But you're like, yeah, but then I think people probably like wouldn't know as much what's happening, which is okay, right? Like if you're just making the game for you or to like actually to ship. But there's like, yeah, there's some conflicting like conflicting basically problems there of like, can we make something that's like very easy for chat to follow along with, which like Lua is very easy for people to read even if they don't know Lua, and maybe it's not the perfect game to make a language in quickly or whatever, but oh well, we're having fun.
But you're very close to doing like your engine from scratch. Like Left2D as a framework is not, it's not Unity or Unreal. It doesn't impose a lot of the abstractions, like for the coordinate systems, everything. You kind of need to do it from scratch.
Yeah, we basically ended up doing all of that. Like, we probably could have picked a different one that maybe would have been like more effective for our week and possibly afterwards as well. But oh well.
But I think that was fun, and for
it was,
other
oh
people.
No, I mean, we were having a blast. I mean, and we still are having a blast with it too, which is one of the like fun things about it. Is pretty excited to see where it's going. Yeah.
Okay. I see you're very careful not to say anything about like what will happen. So I don't want to.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of surprises. A lot of surprises. I'm not going to leak any surprises yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch topic to OCaml.
Oh yeah, of course.
OCaml, which is a very closely related language. It looks like Haskell.
Yeah. In some ways, yep.
Why OCaml?
There's a guy at SourceGraph, Renard Van Totter, who I really respected as a software developer, and I was just talking to him one time, and I was like looking for a different language to do Advent of Code in, and he's like, you should try OCaml. He's written some very cool stuff in OCaml, and like that we used at work, not like we used an executable that was produced from OCaml, not like we were using OCaml at work. And so I was like, okay, like it's pretty new for me, and I just liked it a lot. So then I wanted to do it more, and I was having fun. I think it's pretty underrated language. It still has just a lot of, I don't know, like it's really hard because it's very sad. Like I think the language is great. I think some of the like if OCaml had cargo, then I think it would be in like a way better spot. Like it'd be better, but it just doesn't have that, which makes it very difficult. And I think it's a problem I think a lot of functional languages struggle with, is like it's sometimes someone's research platform. OCaml is much more pragmatic than Haskell. Haskell is a research language. It's like just to go explore type theory. And OCaml is much more pragmatic than that. But it still sometimes has that feeling like in the tooling world around it, where it's like, well, it can run my thing. Like, no, it needs to run like everybody's thing all the time, exactly the same way, so that people will actually share code and we can build something, that actually could ship easily, without, sort of looking, I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff where I'm like, people are going to get turned off by this. You guys got to change the way you name it. They're not going to want to do the language when they see like weird casing or like goofy imports or like having to write 37 things. They're just going to say like, I'm done. That's one too many off ramps. I'm going to take the off ramp. And then you lose them as a potential person. So it's like, it's very sad. Like I really like the language. I think it's super elegant and like beautiful. I think some of the stuff that's happening with OxCaml, which is Jane Street's fork of OCaml, that they've recently sort of released in a more easily digestible format that has a lot of very powerful, like effectively high performance and like ownership type semantics getting added to the language, make it like very, very appealing. The difficulty is just like There's no Phoenix, there's no Rails, there's no like thing where you can just like make a company and sell something with OCaml, and like Stripe works right away and you can just like make your first dollar with it. So yeah, and so like so that part's sad for me. Like I love the language a lot. Yeah, recently we've been writing like a lot more Elixir. I also really like Elixir. I've liked Elixir for quite a while. I wrote a bunch of stuff on stream with Elixir, and Elixir just has a lot more like pragmatic things happening in the language that make it like, oh, we can launch and ship a website very easily. Like we can actually do that, and it will run. And it will run again tomorrow, which is really cool. I like that as well.
Nice. So, did you like more the functional programming now? Do you like more than the usual procedural or even like object oriented?
That's a good question, because it's and this is kind of funny because we were talking about this yesterday with Jose and Ginger Bill on our last stand up with Prime, and like what is functional programming? Because like it's a very difficult question to answer. The thing that I really like about OCaml is the type inference. I think is very powerful, and it leads to being able to like iterate quickly on code but still have really good type safety. So like instead of like in like Rust, I always have to write all the types out everywhere all the time, which makes it so if I want to change anything, then I have to go change all the places. Maybe AI will make that super easy and I'll look like an idiot in 6 months. That's fine. But like it's very hard to do, and it feels very painful, and you want to change like that this thing is now owned by something else. Oh, GG, dude, you lost. Like you're going to spend the whole day refactoring lifetimes. If you have an actually big app, at least for me, that was my experience. Maybe people are just better at Rust than I am. That's fine. It's definitely true. But so like that feeling, you don't get that as much in OCaml. Like it's garbage collected, it's great, everything's type inferred, so I can just like write something and I can access the right fields and it gets the right types and everybody's happy and I'm happy, and it's cool. So I liked that part a lot, like the inference, and I like the type system itself. Like I really like Hindley Milner. I like that you can know something always only has one type. It can only be these combinations of these things. If you want it to be multiple things, then you make it a variant. And then that's awesome. And you're like, okay, I don't have this or that. Like, I don't like unions in TypeScript. I don't like that I can go like, it's int or string. Like, ugh, gross. Sure, TypeScript now can kind of like tell you or whatever, right? But there's still a bunch of scenarios where, like for me, maybe skill issues for TypeScript too, that's fine. Where it ends up being like very painful. And so I liked that a lot. Like I like that. I liked those two things the most. About OCaml, and like I haven't seen like another language with at least like the same level of adoption as OCaml that does them like as well.
Have you tried Odin?
Yeah, I like Odin actually quite a bit. I mean, I've only written 2 weeks or something of Odin. I just tried it for a while to get a feel for the language, and because I like Ginger Bill. And I think it's good, but it's like it would be hard to imagine building like a SaaS in Odin, maybe like a proper like, hey, we're gonna go take Stripe payments or something. I don't know. Maybe people are doing that, but it just seems hard to think about doing that in Odin.
Why?
I don't know. I just maybe I just didn't play with the language enough, but it seemed like some of the things that you normally want to like in Phoenix, I can write a Heeks macro and I can write my HTML inside of the same thing and like associate values inside of that with like a live WebSocket connection that gets updated automatically like whenever anything changes, and like sends efficient diffs across the way. Like that seems hard to do in the very like procedural and like straightforward way that when I was writing Odin, it felt like I had. Maybe that's not the case, but like I don't know if there's like a JSX in Odin. Like it doesn't have macros. I mean, you could write a file that then does the thing and then gets generated to that. And Ginger Bill, I'm sorry if you're watching this, maybe you're like, TJ didn't look at the right packages. He should have known that this is here. You can make fun of me on the next stand-up when you come on. Sorry, Ginger Bill.
I will speak to him shortly. I will relay everything.
Okay, good. Yeah. Like, but I don't know. I mean, are people writing like sasses in Odin?
I think it's because it's like C style mentality. It's more like
Yep.
systems level, so it's more
Right.
like something that is supposed to run on like the desktop thing, not
Yep.
necessarily like very web oriented or even
Yeah.
networking oriented.
Right.
And maybe that's just like it's kind of marketed to a different pool of
Yeah.
people.
Right.
So other people who pick up Odin, they're not necessarily into maybe like
Yeah. I mean, part
strong.
of it is just like, I think if people are not thinking about the community of a language about and then its suitability for it, like you're missing something. Like, I mean, it's possible that you can spend 2 years going and writing a full stack thing to then be able to write the best website of all time, like in Odin. But like, also sometimes like you got to kind of pay the bills next week. So like, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna get there? And so even if Odin is well suited for that, if the things don't exist, then you may have to write like a lot of things that you don't want to have to write. Like, are you going to write an OAuth library? Like, I'm glad I don't have to write an OAuth library. I'm glad I can like use someone else's battle tested OAuth library so that I can actually use OAuth correctly and not accidentally like leak a bunch of credentials or put this in a spot that I thought was protected and not. Like, I don't want to have to do those.
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe Odin has that or not. But there's like Python is not well suited for machine learning. Like, it's a terrible language for this. Like, we're like, hey, we need to run this as fast as possible. We're going to spend all of the world's resources on doing this and managing this. We're like, well, we picked Python. You're like, what? You picked Python? Python? But it's like, okay, but everybody already wrote stuff for it. So like, then you're probably going to pick Python to do a bunch of things for machine learning. Which is fine. In other languages now, the market's big enough that there's a push to add that. Like there's NX, I think it is in Elixir, and there's other, OCaml has Raven and some other. They're like people are making their own.
What is it?
What?
What are those? NX.
Elixir has its own very cool like machine learning GPU enabled thing that takes advantage of the fact that hey, we could run on like a bunch of different processes and do a bunch of different things. Like maybe like this could run some of your experiments or do like Elixir has Livebook, which is similar to like Jupyter Notebook and stuff like that. So they have like their own stack that seems to be growing in this ML space. I'm not an expert on that, but like they seem they're doing that. Like there are people doing it at Jane Street. They're doing their own ML stuff. Some of it's in Python. I'm sure they're writing a bunch of it in OCaml too. I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm sure they're doing it, like, so people are doing it, but it's still like, okay, that's great. But like, if you wanted to ship something, then you might pick Python like right now. And so I think, thinking about what the community is doing and what it's geared towards, if you're not considering that, if a language is well suited or not, then I think you're kind of like missing the ball on that, which is fine. You can just make it. Like all those things it didn't exist and they do now. But you might just be you might be working on it for a while, which is just not what I want to do. Like at this point, like we have a bunch of stuff I want to ship for terminal. I can't spend a year working on my favorite SQL interaction thing in OCaml. Too bad. I want to ship it soon. I want to get these things done. So like I gotta pick something else. At least that's what it seems like to me.
Okay. If you are though into wild macro stuff and wild tricks, in the chat there is Rafael Luba who is working with Jonathan Blow on Jai compiler.
Oh, Jai, so nice.
If you tried it?
I haven't tried it. I followed along when Prime was trying it, and I've seen like quite a few JBlow streams and some other stuff too. So I mean, it's a very cool language. Yeah.
Okay, so because like Jai exposes everything like the AST to the user, you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. Plus you have macros, plus you have compile time execution, which is like you kind of, I think it's you would describe this moment when you have like the mumps and you kind of realize that what actually you can do with it. I think this is the same feeling with language.
Yeah, I mean, it seems awesome. Like, at some point I'll probably see if I can get some beta access and try it out. But like right now we're just busy. Only like I only got so many hours in the day. Got to be diligent for the stuff that I'm tackling.
Yeah. So how do you now schedule your time
Yeah.
How do you manage it in terms of like your life?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's been changing over the last, well, I mean, like it's just very different quite a few times. We're just trying different stuff out and seeing. Right now, I mean, me and Prime are just working very closely like on a lot of stuff and working, I guess more formally together like on a lot of things. So I'm doing a lot of stuff like for the stand up, or we're brainstorming ideas for videos, or like working on stuff like that. I have terminal projects that we're working on like right now. I'm working on basically making kind of like a Patreon-esque experience for like people who subscribe to Cron, like our monthly box for terminal, or like we'll make a digital version once I actually have a thing for them to go to, where they can like get behind the scenes stuff, and we do posts and I'm working on building that out so we can do something interesting in that space that's like just for us and does a bunch of dumb things that only we we want it to do. You're like, oh, why would Patreon build this? Like, they won't. Like, I want it so that you guys can read Dak's angry rant tweets that we have as like special posts in the terminal. We have to be able to SSH to this, at some point. Like, we'll build a website first, but we'll build an SSH version too. So I'm working on things like that. And we ended up we've been doing kind of like goofy, I don't know. I mean, they're goofy. There's like very serious production, but like, these higher quality like sketch ads and stuff like that. So we're writing ads and doing things like that and figuring out how to do that. And we have some like, okay, we're going to do the tower. That doesn't just happen.
Oh yeah.
Like it doesn't just magically appear and everyone's flights worked out and they all show up and do things like that. So there's just like a lot of random stuff in that I don't know, space that we've been iterating on. And like, I've been streaming more again. Like I just didn't have time for a little bit, like managing and like working on a bunch of this stuff and like figuring out if we can do the tower and talking to people about it and blah, blah, blah. And probably start making YouTube videos again, not just uploading Balatro runs, but like proper, like proper videos, there. So like, it's, I don't know, it's kind of like, it's very like all over the place. But that's okay. Like all of it, I'm so happy. It's all super fun and like hilarious and different stuff that we get to try all the time.
This is one thing that I want to maybe close with. You are so happy. You are so such a positive person. Like one person commented at some point to another person, but I think it applies to you as well. There was a comment, I've never seen a programmer this happy. It's just like, this is my thought when I'm seeing you. Yeah. Like, what is going on? Like, where does it come from?
Oh, that's a easy answer. It doesn't really have anything to do with programming, but like, like I've mentioned before a few times, I've talked about it on my stream a bit as well, but like, Jesus saved me. I'm happy. Like everything's good in life, man. Like there's like that underlying piece for everything, which is great. So like, it's, there's a whole separate like peace and joy that goes there, but there's also just like a whole vertical that's in some ways separate of that. Like I like a lot of it is I just choose that I'm going to be happy about a bunch of the things that have happened. Like objectively, like I live in a house with air conditioning and running water. Like that's better than like what most people have gotten to do most of the time. So like, okay, and then I get to write code. It's like typing a magic spell into the computer and then awesome stuff shows up on the screen. Guys, this is so cool. So there's like a few, there's a few layers like along the way of that. But like, if you're going to choose, like I tell my son this all the time, like you can let your anger control you or you can control your anger. He's 4, so like you get to be the one that chooses which way you're going to go. Right. So is it like, oh, that bug sucks and I hate my life now, and like programming sucks, there's like, ooh, cool, a new challenge that I get to solve. Now, it's not that like, oh, I'm following that rule myself. I'm a hypocrite in that regard many times. It's not that I've reached some stage of perfection on those or anything, but like, it's just like, I think life's good. I'm very thankful for a bunch of things, like, and it's very cool. Like, for me in particular, I'm like, I get to go make goofy videos with my friends. And for some reason, there's like, 100,000 people that want to watch me and Prime and Casey and Trash talk. And you're like, that's insane. That's so cool. Why would I be sad? Like, Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of a long-winded answer, and it's like a little bit pieces of all of those. And like also it's like, I don't know. I love my wife a lot. She's super awesome. My kids are great, and like I've got great relationships with my parents and like a bunch of stuff like that. So it's just lots of great blessings in life overall that are like they're important to bring to mind and like intentionally remember, because it's very easy to just like get used to whatever the default state of your life is and then like forget all the good things that are happening, right? Like it's just very used to being like, yeah, of course I have air conditioning. No, it's amazing. It's really hot out right now. And every time I step outside to let Ember out, I'm sweating immediately. And I'm like, it's so cool I have air conditioning. This is such a great blessing. Like, you know, you can just get to choose which way you're going to look at them. But you got to be intentional about it.
How do you keep reminding yourself about it then?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, part of it, like for me, like a big part of it, you know, from the first one of like going to church is helpful for me. Like the other thing is like, you got to do like real life stuff. So like like I laugh when I change my kid's diaper and I'm like laughing because I'm like, this is like the same thing everybody does, you know? And it's like, I'm taking care of my kids. It's good. You got to like turn the screen off and walk away and go do some real life stuff. It helps your brain like remember, oh yeah, like there's stuff going on and like I got these kids and stuff, and like you get out of this like Twitter sphere and like everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Like I love X. Like I love being on X. It's funny. Like I have fun. I'm memeing with my friends. I'm having a good time. Like I'm not a doom scroller. I'm like a joy scroller. I'm having fun and like hanging out. But you're like, but there's also this real life, a bunch of other things. So yeah, and then I think also there's just like you train yourself into thinking about and reminding yourself like, hey, like the situations you're in like are not the default state of life. Like the default state of life, and like if like I'm by myself and I'm solo, is like scrounging for scraps in the woods, like hoping that I can find enough berries to live, right? And like that's the default setting for life. But instead, like people get to work together and like like by God's providence we like find ways to actually like improve our life situation, and then we like I could go to the grocery store and there's like 1,000 things of food, and you're like, that's sick. Like we have our own garden, we grow some food, and I'm like, that's harder. It's way harder growing food than it is buying it at the store.
Yeah. I can also add like we're not killing each other. Like you see 100 other people, and your first instinct is not these are the enemies that I need to kill.
Yes.
Like that's
right. Yes. Or like they're gonna take all my stuff. Like I go to like my downtown and I walk around, I go to a restaurant, I go home and I'm like, sick. Like that was cool. The food was good. You know, I didn't have to worry about like anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is unusual for entire history of humanity.
Yes.
Okay.
People like hurting each other. Yeah.
We missed one aspect, and I think we should cover it.
All right.
Parenting. When did it happen in your career, and what changed, like in terms of like real life, but also like, you know, your relationship with time changes.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely does. I mean, so we had our first kid when I was about 26. I think that seems like about right. I think I was that old. Like I said, we had been like trying to have kids for like a year and a half, basically, before then. So we were kind of hoping like a little bit sooner than that. But so it was about 26. So at that time I was trying to think, did I start working at, I think I was at Source Graph then. Yeah, I think so. I haven't thought about that in a while. I think it was at Source Graph when we had my oldest son. I mean, the thing with like the like very, I don't know, sort of like generic answer for it is like you stop living exclusively like for yourself. I mean, ideally, like you're already living for your spouse, right? So like, you know, I'm already learning a bunch of self-sacrifice and like how to do something in pursuit of like the other person. Like some of the best marriage advice that I ever got like from our pastor when we were doing like premarital counseling stuff was like, it's not 50-50, it's 100-100. You guys are both giving 100% of yourself to the other person. It's not that we're keeping track of score and who's winning and are you doing as much as I'm doing. It's like, no, I'm doing everything I can for you. And like, in an ideal world, they're doing everything back they can for you. And like, but but you're not going to count score for it. So like, ideally, you're practicing some of that self-sacrifice and some other stuff before you have kiddos. It's not always how it works, but then you'll learn about it once you have kiddos for sure. So there is a lot of stuff where just being more like diligent and like regimented with my time of like when I have to work on stuff versus when I don't. Yeah, and I'm trying to think like it did anything super change in the way about work or even like streaming as a side hobby. I mean, the thing for me was like I always really like I was always willing and able to tell my work, like, yes, I can do something, but I don't have enough time to do this and that. So I was generally not in a problem scenario, like as an average day to day, week to week kind of thing of like being overworked and feeling stressed about tons of stuff. Obviously, occasionally like emergencies happen and like that week is busy and I'm working a lot. But like on average, I was willing to tell my work like, yes, but we can't do both of these. That happened all the time at Epic. And all the people who didn't know how to do that were working all the time and didn't know why. And I'm like, well, it's because you never say you can't get both done. Like, so that's why you are always here all the time. So like work was always like well balanced in that way for me. Like, and there's a different perspective there where I think like work is kind of like essential to life. Like, and it's a good, like it is a good thing to work and to work hard. So it didn't feel like, oh, I have to be at work. It's like a good thing to pursue and to do well with. So some of that didn't really change when I had kids. It was more just like less of my time outside of work was for me and more of it was like about my kids or about taking care of my wife or doing, doing different things in that regard. But I've been very blessed too, because like my parents live close by and my wife's parents live close by. Like we're high school sweethearts, so like our parents live very close to each other.
Nice.
So like we see our family a lot and they help with some stuff and things like that. So it's like it's not as difficult for sure as like someone who's like in a faraway city with no like support structure, no like church to help them out or other stuff like that. So that made that like a little bit less probably like extreme than some people have. And then also I had 4 younger siblings, so like I'm the oldest of 5. So like I'm used to like little kids, you know what I'm saying? Like I had lots of little siblings growing up, so it was not like crazy foreign to me of like, oh yeah, like they cry sometimes. Nothing you can do, like you hold them and you say I love you, but like they're gonna keep crying at night, and it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep holding you. Hopefully you stop at some point so I can go to sleep. But there's like maybe less worry about some of the things of when you're like you're holding your newborn for the first time and you're like, oh, he's crying. He's like, it's an emergency. He's like, no, he's just like, hold me, and he doesn't have any way to tell you. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Look, thank you so much. This was really nice.
Yeah,
really,
thank you.
Good luck with the tower thing and also terminal.shop and all the things that you're covering. I think it's way more different, various things than the usual day job. Like a lot of things are in the air.
Yes. Yep. Lots of juggling balls, but it's fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And have fun with the streaming that you're coming back to a little bit more now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. TJ, thank you so much. This was really nice discussion.
Thanks. I was glad to be on the pod. I had a great time.
Awesome. For everybody who is listening, I'm gonna turn off the stream now. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.